review, but it's time now to get into some of these takeaways from training camp. And we got some clips pulled up, the Lions put out and we put out on Woodward Sports. You can check that out, all social medias. But Gabby, you can give us the walkthrough of your day yesterday.
Definitely. So I want to start off, there's a bug going around Allen Park, so you're going to start to see some players not playing. Obviously not anything too serious, but hopefully that passes through really quickly so that it doesn't affect these joint practices coming up with Jacksonville that are going to be starting on Wednesday.
You're talking about an illness bug, obviously? Like there's like a little,
Sorry?
there's like an illness going around?
Yes,
okay.
A little bit of an illness, and then Hutch has something minor going on with his ankle, so you won't see him out there. We didn't see him out there yesterday, and then we're getting a little bit closer to Jefferson hopefully joining them again. They're hoping like this week will be his last week, maybe getting him in at the end of the week. So that kind of covers off on those injuries. And then obviously a lot of talk about Teddy Bridgewater that we'll get into. But on the flip side, Dan Campbell also talked a decent amount about Jared Goff and how he was really happy with his performance during those practices against the Giants. Again, harping on his consistency, that he's exactly where they want to see him in the place that he's in right now. So not backing off of how confident they are in him, which of course leads to questions about his contract.
Right.
No one's asking in the media yet, because I think we all know it's a little bit too early to ask, but personally that puts questions in your head.
So Teddy's confirmed he's starting this week against Jacksonville.
It's not 100% confirmed. They said they're going to see how he's doing early this week and then potentially in the joint practices, and then you'll see what they're going to plan with him for that game. So he said that it's not confirmed 100% yet how they're going to be using him.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah. So Gabby, there's a clip that is, I believe, in the Woodward Sports Slack right now of Amon-Ra St. Brown making a nice toe tap catch. I mean, has he just looked like a real standout at training camp?
The thing I think that stands out most to me with him is how easy he makes it look. So seamless, so easy. Like, you know he's putting in effort, but you cannot even tell that he's putting in that effort, that amount of effort that he is. And I have to compare it to dance because, you know, ballerinas, they say the best ballerinas in the world, it's one of the hardest physical things to do with their body. And the best ballerinas, you can never tell how much work and how much pain they're in. And I think, I mean, not to compare Amon-Ra St. Brown to a ballerina, but he makes it look really easy. And he's on those toes.
Yeah,
so.
he was dancing out there. Man dances every Sunday, Monday and Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
But another question, too, Sam Laporta, coming off the preseason game that we saw. And he struggled a little bit, but what did his bounce-back practice look like when you were there?
I'd love to see him, like, walking out of practice, talking with Jared Goff, and them making that connection. And they're clearly talking about what has happened at practice, how he can improve. He's going out of his way. And you heard Teddy Bridgewater kind of mention this. He's like, I want to see who comes to me. And I think that you're seeing that with Sam Laporta, is that he's going to those veterans on the team and he's asking them how he can improve. He's immediately going off every single time he makes a play, whether he reacted well or poorly, and going and speaking to the coaches. And that's what you want to see from someone that young, especially in that position, that from the start we've said there's a potential that he may not be ready for that first game because it is such a hard position to assimilate to in the NFL, and he's doing that incredibly well at this stage.
Yes. I want to talk to you a little bit about the preseason game and kind of what you saw in your observations. Were you surprised at all by the standout performances of, say, Julian Okwara, Maurice Alexander, guys like that?
Maurice Alexander was already putting in the work during practices, so I was not surprised that he showed out in that preseason game. I was really glad that he had the opportunity to do that because I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to go. So really happy to see that. And I know we've kind of talked about Chase Cota a little bit, and you know, he didn't look as great yesterday in practice, I will say, but in that game and in practices before, he just had these glimpses that I was like, okay, wait, who is he? Initially, like right off the bat, like checking for his number on the roster that we had, because he wasn't somebody that I was looking for initially, and he's giving those glimpses very early on that I'm like, okay, we need to take note of this guy.
And another thing too, I mean, at least for some of the other rookies, a guy like Jack Campbell, I know after that preseason game, we've come to realize, people already knew, but yeah, this guy could play, and he's going to start. He's going to play immediately, him and Brian Branch. Can you give us an update on some of the rookies, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, what those guys have looked like? Because they're both, Brian and Jack, came off a pretty good preseason game. So how they followed it up with that practice yesterday?
Brian, Jack, and Ja. We can't leave Ja off that list because and he showed out in practice yesterday. I think you have to keep in mind, like, it's a different level of, like, okay, you had a game, now you got to get back up and fix all the problems that you had and then get ready for Jacksonville coming in. There's no time for them to, like, fully recover now. Like, the time for them to recover and learn and grow really fast and focus on that has passed because preseason is here, it has started, and now it's like, okay, how can I assimilate to this new routine of game, fix the problems, and then get back and get ready for another game. So I think they all looked great. I think Gibbs looks unreal. And Jack, Campbell had good things to say about him in the press conference yesterday, which is fantastic. I think the biggest thing that he's going to have to work on that Campbell touched on is his reaction time and really moving quicker with that reaction. He knows what to do, but how fast can you make it happen?
What about, and this is where, you got to be objective. Who disappointed yesterday? Who did not look good yesterday? Or somebody that you thought, compared to what you've seen prior, maybe had a practice that wasn't up to par with what you usually see out of them? Could be a rookie, could be a veteran.
Besides Nate Sudfeld.
Well,
besides, come on, man, you don't straight
the
Sudfeld.
words right off of my tongue.
Sudfeld.
But I guess honestly, I gotta think about it because I have to before I get into the bad, I want to start with another good.
Okay.
Montgomery. I think one of the great things about him is that even though he's a veteran, he does not act like it. Like, even when a play doesn't go his way, he's still completely running through it and then running back and starting over again. I kind of touched on the bad a little bit already, but I don't think Chase looked that great yesterday in comparison to how he's looked in previous practices. And this previous game, I think he's slipped off a little bit, but again, nothing like too concerning.
Okay.
You're going to have bad days, and I don't think necessarily it was like super bad, but he just wasn't firing on all cylinders that I think I've personally seen him in other practices.
Gabby, if you had to pick, just because we saw Chase Cota, obviously, and we had a lot of hype coming out with Dylan Drummond out of camp. If you had to pick right now, because you're going to think with this wide receiver room and the talent we already have, there's going to be some cuts. If you were to think, who's more likely to make the roster at this point, Dylan Drummond or Chase Cota, if you had to lean one way or the other? Because they just released Trey Quinn yesterday, so I think they kind of took care of that.
No!
Yeah, your boy, Trey, he's gone. But Gabby, if you had to lean one way, Drummond or Cota?
I'm going to say Drummond because Campbell has already talked about him and brought him up without the media asking specifically about him. Campbell has brought his name up and that he's really pleased with how he's progressing. He's really pleased with his performance and his consistency. Because of that, I'm going to lead toward Drummond. And I think consistency-wise, he looks very good.
And then one more thing to kind of like caveat at the end of that. Do you think after Alexander's like kick return, he pretty much has a roster spot locked up, at least for like, because he is a receiver, but with Justin Jackson retiring, there's a spot open for a returner. So
and then they just extended Khalif Raymond too?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's locked in. We heard, again, I'm keying into these moments of when the coaches are talking about them in the media and what they're saying and how they're phrasing it, and Dan Campbell's excitement level and trying to get something out of like his body language almost. And God, everyone's so excited for him, and you see his camaraderie with the team, and I think at this point it would be a huge loss to take him away from the team.
Did they have a kicker battle yesterday?
No kicker battle yesterday.
That's what I need updates on. Because Parker Romo. Hey, listen, this is the media. I know people wants to know the juicy stuff. That's my juicy thing. I need to know. I need to know the kicker battle. Yeah, that's the real
who are you
thing.
leaning towards? Who are you liking more?
Well, I saw Parker Romo out there at Ford Field on Friday. So, look, I listen, I hope Riley Patterson pulls away from it, but Parker Romo looks like JB out there, about the same size as JB.
That's what I was about to say. Like, no bashing him, but Parker Romo, like, if you saw him shopping at a Walmart or a Target, like, and he told you he was an NFL kicker, you'd probably like laugh in his face. Now, no disrespect to him, man's got a boot, but he did not look like an NFL player in uniform.
No,
He's the
saw.
Kirk Cousin of kickers.
Yeah.
He's got a ton of holes cash. He's just spinning.
over there.
And JB, you might have caught a stray because I compared him to your size, but still, regardless,
That's all
like he looks like a normal dude though. Like, is
Yeah.
that fair? When we were at the game,
Yeah,
I'm
for
like,
sure.
is that Parker Roma on the sideline or is that a ball boy?
He
Like
looks
he's just
like-
hanging out.
He looks like your average Joe.
Yeah, but no kicker battles. So that's all the juicy stuff I got. What about you, Sam?
Okay, so Sean Belegian was on Big D Energy yesterday, and he brought something up, and I want to ask if you can confirm this or not.
Okay.
He said he was a little bit skeptical when the Lions first picked Jahmyr Gibbs until he actually saw him on that training camp field and
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, this guy is just going to be a weapon, just a lethal weapon for the Detroit Lions. I mean, is that basically what you're seeing out of him every day? I mean, could you see him being used in a variety of different ways, and are you as excited about him?
I'm so excited
I
about
could tell.
him. I'm so excited. I mean, obviously that preseason game, it's hard not to get that bug a little bit. A bug in a good way, not the bug that they're
Sure,
having going
sure.
around Allen Park right now. But I think then what confirmed it for me was seeing him back out there with the first open media practice and still getting after it and still getting in those reps and still pushing himself. He's not relaxing back and saying, okay, I had a really good first preseason game. I can chill now. I can, let this sink in, and I've done my job. No. He is still out there pushing the limits, and it's giving you that same kind of mentality that we like players like Amon-Ra St. Brown having. I see him having that same exact mentality, very humble, working with all the guys on the sideline, great camaraderie, and following through each and every play, whether or not he did well or poorly.
What about Antoine Green, the 7th round pick? Got to see him a little bit on Friday in the preseason game, but how's he looking in practice?
Looking good. Saw him out there doing some drills yesterday after practice, which is always good to see. I think across the board, the rookies are starting to prove themselves. They were in pads yesterday, so it's always great seeing that up close, and you're kind of getting a better eye on what they're doing. But promising seeing him running some drills afterwards and improving.
Solid. All right, let's go to some of these because people are chiming in now, and talking about also the kicker battle as well. Although we didn't get to see it. Denver Blair says, Jeff says, why is that ball boy suited up? Yeah, that was.
That's what it looks like, though.
Yeah, that was essentially my thoughts.
The ball boys that we were yelling to hustle from one end of the field, like they would run behind the field goal post and we were yelling at them to hustle. Those dudes look like more of NFL players than Parker Romo did.
I mean,
his last
they
name's
hustle.
Romo. What were you
They
saying?
hustle. When they're doing those kicker battles out at the practice fields, when I tell you, because we've talked about my near collision experience with the kicker battles and don't stand behind the field goals, and you just hear his feet shuffling. He is always like ready to move, ready to get to the next ball. And I'm like,
those are the
"Dang,
unsung heroes.
They don't fuck
how do you
around.
move so fast?" I'm like, you're out here running more than these guys are because they take breaks between every play, and you are not taking any breaks.
And Denver Blair says they get paid 55 G's a year. I mean, you got to
Dude,
hustle.
if I got paid 55 G's a year to,
catch-
be
to
an
be a
NFL
ball
ball
boy.
boy, I'm
Also, another unsung hero are the guys that go out and like repair the fields in between, even at like the practice fields. When the Giants came to the practices, they said how nice the Lions practice fields were. So shout out to the guys that are tending to the field in between every single play to make sure that it is in pristine condition.
Yeah, they've got compliments on that. I forgot who was just down there. I believe it was either Sports Center. Yeah, I
It was
forgot.
NFL Network. It
That's
was
who it
Baldy.
was.
It was Baldy.
Yes, Baldy. Do it.
This is the best green I've stepped foot on all NFL season.
Yes.
They got this. I mean, you could put all 9 pars on it. He was just talking like it was a golf field. I'm like, dude,
Yes.
we're just at Allen Park right now. It's okay. I know.
Thank
I know
you.
you're happy to be out there, but let's.
It
Well,
was-
they
it
do
was
have the
Baldy.
little green back there too that you can practice your putting in the back.
Yeah, they really have it. Even at the training camp at Allen Park, they had the little section we walked through when we went to training camp. They had the little green. Mike was oozing to get over
it's
there.
probably where Brad like sits down and thinks about the trades. It's probably just goes out
Got a
there,
cigar
gets
in
out
his
of the
mouth.
office. Yeah, he's just doing a little.
If I
getting
one
some
putt
putts in.
this, we take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, after he fleeces a trade, he just goes out there and just has a cigar in his mouth, just putting. And everyone else is in there stressed out. He's like, fleecing another GM. I love it.